Okay, so we are live with recording. This is the December 4th Board of Zoning Appeals Site Design Meeting. We'll get kicked off here in just a moment once our remaining 3 board members arrive. So hang tight. We'll get kicked off here in just a few minutes. Great traffic out there.
It wasn't bad.
I think there may be a show tonight.
There is. That was playing when I walked up. I left a little early. One of those rare occurrences where I actually had reason to go to bank. So I went to bank first and then came here.
Gotcha.
It doesn't matter.
It's odd that all 3 would be.
Yeah, that's kind of strange.
Right. Oh. Yeah. We still don't have a replacement for me. That's what I'll put your application in for.
What are we doing?
Halfway there.
You think we're gonna make it to get our February meeting minutes?
As soon as Amanda shows up, I think we're good.
It's a big day.
So I put the 3.
All right, with 3 members seated, we'll kick off with the opening statements and then we'll have to wait till our last member arrives. So
All right, thank you. So this is the December 4th, 2024 meeting of the City of Charleston Board of Zoning Appeals Site Design. Present currently are Ruth E. Ravenel, Paula Summers, myself, Joel Adrian, present from planning staff, Eric Schultz. These proceedings are being recorded. We ask that those who speak identify themselves for the record. We will conduct this meeting in usual fashion. We will first receive information from city staff about the application and their recommendation. If the recommendation is favorable and no one objects to the application, the matter is uncontested. The board reserves the right to ask questions of staff, applicant, or others in attendance prior to rendering a decision. If, however, city staff recommends against the application or there is opposition to the application, we treat the application as contested and hear from the applicant and anyone else in favor of the application. Next, we hear from anyone opposed, followed by a short rebuttal from the applicant. We then close the public hearing portion of the meeting for that particular application and will open discussion to the Board of Zoning Appeals members only. We will then make a decision to approve the conditions, deny, or defer the application. Board of Zoning Appeals Site Design has the authority to do 3 things. 1, hear appeals to decisions of the zoning administrator. 2, grant special exceptions, in fact-finding function of the board. 3, grant variances to the zoning ordinance if the application meets the hardship test outlined in section 54.924 of the ordinance. The board may deliberate, make a final decision on a matter by a majority vote of members present and qualified to vote at the hearing, provided that not less than a quorum are present and qualified to vote. For a variance to be granted, the Board of Zoning Appeals must make the following findings. A, there are extraordinary and exceptional conditions pertaining to the particular piece of property. B, these conditions do not generally apply to other property in the vicinity. C, because of these conditions, the application of the ordinance to the particular piece of property would effectively prohibit or unreasonably restrict the utilization of the property. And D, the authorization of a variance will not be a substantial detriment to the adjacent property or the public good. The character of the district will not be harmed by the granting of the variance. So with that, we'll also mention that Amanda Barton has joined the meeting, so we now have our full quorum. We'll go to our first item, which is going to be item A1, review of the minutes for the September 4th. No, all right, sorry,
November.
wrong one there, I'm sorry. November 6th meeting. Any comments on that or a motion for approval?
I make a motion for approval.
Second.
All right, so all in favor of approving the minutes from November 6th?
Who seconded?
Ruthie.
Ruthie, you weren't present at the November 6th,
So I'll second.
Yeah.
so Amanda Barton.
Okay. So all in favor?
I'm in favor.
In favor.
I in favor, so that passes 3-0. And I believe we finally have our correct members here for the review of the minutes from February 7th.
And I apologize, our admin snuck this one in because she has better memory than I do, so I don't have a slide prepared for that, but you have
That's
it
all right.
in front of you.
That's right. We know those minutes. So is there a motion on that?
Move to approve.
And is there a second for that?
I'll second.
So that was Ruthie and Amanda.
Yep.
Vote for those will be. Go ahead and vote. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Abstain.
So we're 3-0 on that one as well. Excellent. So now we will go to B1. New applications, and it is 19 St. Margaret Street. The TMS number is 46315010039. Is zoned SR2, request a variance from section 54-327 to allow the removal of 2 grand trees. Eric.
Yes, we're taking a trip up to the Upper Peninsula, to Wagner Terrace. This is the application submitted. This is what we would consider in a SR2 legal non-conforming situation. Obviously, it was the center for young women. And it's my understanding the building is going to be repurposed to a multi-family building. And it received Board of Zoning Appeals zoning use variance to allow that to occur. So here it is sitting on St. Margaret Street. As you know, it's a fairly large building with a little accessory structure to the west. Driveways to the east with a small parking area on the east side and service area to the rear, if you will. This is just a street shot to remind you all if you haven't seen this structure in the past. Little brick seat wall raised. So with the repurposing of the structure to multifamily, I'll let the applicant speak specifically on the number of units I think that the Board of Zoning Appeals permitted. They're going to have to park it. So this shows an expanded parking area on the south side of the building and stretching to the west. As you can see, because it's less than an acre in size and zoned SR2, the ordinance only is going to protect the grand trees. If if the existing operators wanted to cut down non-grand trees, they would have the right to do so based on the base zoning. So we have 4, I think actually 5 grand trees, and number 8 and number 11 are the 2 that we'll be addressing tonight. I'm going to be able to work with the applicant and the project arborist. We've already studied reducing the aisle width and with alternative construction methodologies will work to allow small encroachments. So I did not require that to be advertised, but that just shows the 26 and the 31-inch oak, and there's a grand magnolia out front. Natural Directions created the initial tree evaluation report and is also carrying through some recommendations for the parking lot improvements. So again, tree number 8 is a 24.5 willow oak, and tree 11 is a 14-15 live oak. Again, the plan for additional parking. So again, the 15-inch willow oak grade D, that we can permit that without board's approval. But number 8, 24.5 willow oak grade D, and you'll see some photos that pertain to that. Included bark, small cavity, very strange branch connection. And then the double stem live oak, I suspect is a volunteer. I don't think it was planted that close to the building. As you can see, there's the beginnings of maybe some structural damage to that brick foundation system. It is, I think that portion of the building's on a slight crawl space. And then, of course, the crown that has been searching for sunlight stretched out. I did not observe the sawdust, but at the time that the arborist was there, there is some evidence of some beetle activity. These are the city photos. I just like to include sometimes clearer and more obvious. Again, this tree not having that central stem, I don't know if it had some previous damage and then those branches became dominant. Kind of a weird connection point there. Again, the live oak has been obviously pruned away from the structure. A wooden portion of the structure there, and then appears to be applying a little pressure on the foundation. You can see the included bark as well. So with that said, staff recommends approval with the conditions to plant 47 caliber inches of native canopy trees on the site. Obviously, we have large buildings, we have parking. We do have the opportunity, in my opinion, to plant 4 2.5-inch caliber trees and then make a contribution to the city street tree program in the amount of 4,130. That's the remaining inches divided by 2.5-inch tree that the city would buy and plant, and then a cost of $295 per tree. Plus use 4-foot chain link fence as tree protection barricades for the trees in the rear during the parking lot construction. And I'd like to have that barricade installed by the project arborist. Must implement the certified arborist tree preservation plan, and then must submit a landscape plan for staff review and approval.
Excellent. Thank you, Eric. Is the applicant present?
Yes, Mr. Chair. Good evening. My name is Todd Richardson. I'm the landscape architect for the project, principal with Synchronicity at 69 Moore Street, Charleston, South Carolina. So what we have for you tonight is an opportunity to help Florence Crittenden further their mission. They're in a very beautiful, but very historic and very much in need of building and site that not only does not meet their current program needs for the young mothers, but also is in need of a lot of repairs, and it's really going to become something that needs to be addressed. And we're helping them to set this up for the right group to come in to address this. This building will need several years of work, historic restoration and care. It is on the register, and JPO will be involved. So there's a lot to be done after this. As Eric mentioned, last month we got a use variance for the ability to have up to 15 multifamily units in here to be a condominium project. It's a great little neighborhood, and to help with that, we are exploring floor plan opportunities with that number, and then also the associated parking that goes with it. We've been in constant communication. Our client has been in constant communication with the neighborhood. Cheryl goes pretty much every single month to the neighborhood meetings. We have full support for the use variance. We have full support for the 2 tree removals here, which are just unfortunate circumstances. We're able to come back with a pervious parking lot, which helps us on the stormwater side of things, as well as local water recharge. And we're going to be able to work with Eric to situate those trees on site and contribute to the city tree fund. So we fully embrace and support the staff conditions that come with this. I'll be happy to answer any questions that you may have.
Excellent. Thank you. Is there anybody else present that's in favor, would like to be heard?
Good evening. I'm Cheryl O'Donnell, the Executive Director of Florence Crittenton Programs, located at 19 St. Margaret Street and the owner of this property. And thank you so much for your consideration this evening. Florence Crittenton Programs has operated as the state's only home for pregnant and parenting young women for more than 125 years. And we've been in this location for about 100 years. But we've reached a point in this building where the cost of maintaining this historic home can no longer be sustained by our nonprofit organization. And it's actually begun to impact our ability to provide quality and appropriate services for the young women and children that we serve. So over the past 3 years, our board of directors has consulted with the city of Charleston, other experts. As Todd had mentioned, we've worked very closely with the neighborhood association to determine what is the next best use of this property that will allow us to continue forward with our mission. And so going through this process, we were able to identify that multifamily housing would be the next best use of this property. And last month, we were able to come before BZA-SD and receive unanimous approval for our variance for multifamily housing in our property. So the application before you today is really going to help us continue to move this project forward so that we can relocate our residents from an institutional setting that really isn't appropriate for teenagers and their children to grow up in. It will allow us to move them into homes just like you and I live in that are structurally sound, that have bright light, that really show them that they're cared for. Because when they're growing up in a building that's falling apart around them and we don't have the resources to maintain that building, it sends the wrong message for the type of care that they deserve. And so we hope that we will get approval for the removal of these trees so that we'll be able to address the parking needs of the multifamily housing unit, and that we can move forward with relocating our residents to more appropriate homes. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Anybody else present that would like to be heard in favor of the application? Is there anybody present that's opposed? We'll close this application to the public and go to the board for questions, discussion. Questions?
How many young mothers does the house hold supply housing for now? Is it 15 or is it less than 15?
It's less than 15. Currently, we have 6 young women and 4 infants.
So you'll be able to accommodate more, which with the 15 units.
Yes, yes. Well, and you know, relocating our residents to other homes, one will allow us to serve more young women in the community, because right now all of our resources are tied to this one building. And when you look at our community, there are over 300 girls that we could serve every year that we're not able to reach simply because all of our money goes into this house and who can live in the house. So by moving our residents to new homes, homes that we can maintain, that'll free up our resources so that we can actually serve other young women and help them move off the streets into safe housing, receive help with jobs and education and parenting skills.
The plan is to sell the building, right?
Yeah.
Yes.
That's really clear. Thank
Oh,
you.
sorry, yeah, yeah, so, the plan is to sell the building,
Okay.
and so what we're doing is, we're preparing, we have, you know, several individuals that are interested in purchasing the property, but, all of them are multifamily housing developers. That is, you know, from all of the research, the next best use for the property, and so to be able to secure the use variance and to be able to have a parking plan for the site will help us with being able to sell the property.
Got it. Thanks for clarifying.
So you're gonna have them throughout the community in different places that you're not gonna buy a group of townhomes or something. You're gonna find places throughout the community where they can be, where they might be closer to where their original neighborhood is or where their family is or whatever the situation could be, I
It's
guess.
sort of a multi-pronged approach.
Uh-huh.
One is we are actually looking at purchasing new homes. So we will still have a residential program where young women will live in a home, have our staff support within those homes.
But now we'll have more resources to help with things like rental assistance for those young women who are older and can move into their own housing with support. And we're looking at other spectrums of housing services.
I think it's a great mission. I think it's a great use of the property. We need small multifamily units. And I think it's a good solution. So I'm in favor of it.
Okay, I make a motion, we move to approve the staff recommendation.
Second.
Who made the second?
Paula.
Paula?
Yes, okay, so motion for approval of staff conditions, all in favor? Say aye.
Aye.
In favor.
In favor, motion is approved 4-0. Thank you so much for your time.
Thank you all very much.
All right, so our next item will be item B2 as 862 Tripe Street. TMS is 418-11-00042, zoned SR2. Requested variance from section 54-327 to allow the removal of one grand tree.
So we're going to take a trip across the Ashley to Maryville, Ashleyville. This is the application submitted. This is a lot of 3 that I believe the applicant may control and is building new houses on. 862. You can see that it's a series of vacant lots. Couldn't tell you, there's a remnant driveway here and there, but I think I came across an old well of some sort, but they've been vacant for quite some time, overgrown. We have large trees, some grand, some not classified as grand. You can see some very large sweet gum. The live oak that's in question is that small mound ish looking tree in the center there, and you'll take a better look at it here in just a moment. So the survey is this existing condition survey. They actually labeled it as a triple live oak. It's the one closest midway to the property line there. A very large red oak to the rear. The site plan is to propose or build a house forward of the large red oak. However, this tree being the shape it is in and or the crown size, and then also you'll see in a moment the severe lean that it has. The third stem is a water oak. So I just circled that there to give you an idea. The parking would be out front, the house forward, very large rear yard. This is the plan, the house. So in March, I was on site at the request of Allison. I believe actually received a request for staff to go out and verify trees. And you can see my notes that crown, very low crown, leans 13, 18, 44-inch red oak, 22-inch pecan. And so here it is. You know, why it took on that character, I have no idea why. It might have been just competing with some trees in the rear, but you can see the water oak coming up through the side of it there, and then the severe lean. Again, that on the right, the stem in the foreground is the water oak, and then it's a connected live oak at the base. You can see how the one branch on the left really does kind of veer out into where the home would be. So staff recommends approval to allow the removal of the double stem live oak with the condition that 31 caliber inches of native canopy tree be planted on the lot in the form of 2.5-inch caliber trees and a contribution to the city street tree program in the amount of $2,950. Must use 4-foot chain link fences, tree protection barricades, and must provide a landscape plan for staff review and approval.
Thank you, Eric. Is the applicant present?
Thank you, guys. Dave Matt O'Neill, 1349 Old Georgetown Road. Yeah, just looking to build a new rental home here. Provide a nice house for somebody, and this tree kind of makes it impossible to build that on the spot, but we think without that tree, we could build a pretty nice home for somebody.
All right. Very good. Anybody else present that wants to speak in favor? Anybody present that is opposed? Close the application to the public. It'll be open to the board for discussion, questions.
Eric, what did you grade the tree?
I would call it a D with the double stem and the severe lean.
Okay.
The other oak coming out of it.
Right.
Just wanna make sure. I had the first picture, standing back at the site, kind of does say it all, this little mound. That if you were even to look and say, how do we trim back to be able to locate a structure on the property? And all the major limbs are coming
Going
forward.
towards the,
Yeah.
where the house footprint would be. Well, I'm happy that the red oak is staying for a change.
Yeah, and it seems that concept is to maybe maintain other trees, so.
And those other 3 lots, the other 2 lots aren't gonna come back with any removals, correct?
I saw a house under construction to the left of this one and there were no trees on it.
I just
The middle lot.
own the lot to the right.
Okay.
860, and only the gums are gonna be removed on that. No trees are required to be removed. I like trees. I know another group bought the property to the left, but I'm not certain what they're doing.
Yeah, there's a foundation going.
Thank you. All right,
I think it's a reasonable request. It's not some giant house being squeezed onto a tiny lot and clear cut. I mean, it's realistic.
Yep.
I move to approve with staff recommendations.
thank you. Second to the motion.
I'll second.
Motion for approval with staff conditions by Ruthie, seconded by Amanda. All in favor? Aye in favor. Motion is approved 4-0. Thank you for your time. All right, so our next item would be item B3. That is 84 Berry Street. TMS 45702040001 and zoned LB. Request variance from section 54-327 to allow the removal of one protected tree.
So, west side of Calhoun Street, 84 Berry is the address. 76 Berry is the existing Ronald McDonald facility, house facility. Application, I'm sorry. Justification. So, MUSC is planning to expand the Ronald McDonald House, provide more housing needs for patients, families, and what have you. You can see the lot line configuration today. However, the county is going to, oh, here's the sole tree. There's palm trees, which can be easily relocated. But the sole live oak is there. There's a picture of it from the street survey. They use this lot today as a valet parking. So the county is in the design phase of enhancing the Courtney Calhoun Street corridor section, and it's going to move this far east. So they're taking some of the existing MUSC lands to adjust the curb and help out with that that lane, that southern lane on Calhoun Street. So they're getting pinched by some land taking, if you will. They're going to provide parking as much as they can on site. And then the building is actually bridged. It's physically connected by a first floor or a second floor, I guess, first being ground, second floor bridge. And yeah, so you can see the location of the tree is basically on the foundation. I believe that's where the bridge kind of ties in right there too on the second floor. It's in a parking lot on 18-inch. Staff recommends approval with the condition of plant 5, just because it's a protected tree. 2.5-inch caliber trees are required per ordinance. Now, and if they can get some trees on site with the small little green spaces that may be provided, they can try to do that. If not, make a contribution to the city street. 590, unless we provide a landscape plan for staff review and approval.
All right, thank you, Eric, and the applicant is present.
Trey Linton with Forsberg Engineering, a civil engineer representing the owner for the project. I think Eric did a nice summary of the conditions that we're faced with here. He did point out the right-of-way acquisition that is occurring on our property, which is making the useful parcel area of our property, smaller. And then we're also restricted in our drive access aisles on Berry Street and Gadsden Street, based on that right-of-way acquisition and the expansion of the roadway. So, those conditions also apply to our parcel, but happy to answer any other questions you may have.
Thank you. Anybody else present that is in favor of the application?
DOE Land Service, I'm working with LS3B, them on this project as well, and also communications with Eric. We've got a good landscape plan put forward to do some neat stuff with some Japanese maples, and also help Eric about working for the Parks Department to try and see what ability we're gonna have with planting in the 45 degree angles right away there. The live oak tree is more like a Bradford pear live oak, it does have some, multiple V crotch, stem unions and stuff in it as well. So, but thank you.
Thank you. Anybody else present that's in favor? Anybody present that is opposed? We'll close this application to the public and be open to the board for questions and discussion.
What was the grade of the tree?
Didn't really have to grade it because it's a protected tree, but as Mr. Mead pointed out, a live oak is a kind of a different species when it comes to branch unions, but as you can see, there are some V crotch unions in there. You can see some included bark seams. And when you step back and look at the crown of the tree, it's a beautiful symmetrical crown, but in the future, could some of that fall apart, with more weight? Maybe a low B, high C.
What are we zoned here?
What are we zoned?
LB.
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 And to be clear, the plan here is to just reconfigure the parking lot.
No, the
Yeah,
plan
that
is
is
to
another
build a
thing.
whole new structure out front on Calhoun.
Will actually be 46 residences.
And then
Okay,
there's,
the existing
And
building
now
is gonna
they have
stay.
what, like 25, 30?
Yeah, they'll have over 70 when they add the 46 that they have here, so they have around 30, I guess.
so
Okay,
to
so-
just remind you, it's a surface parking lot
Okay, thank
today.
you. That's
So
helpful.
they'll have a building out on Calhoun Street. It will be physically connected by a pedestrian bridge
Got it. Okay, thank you.
above the parking.
And so the parking that they can't fit on site now will just go across the way to the parking garage, I guess.
That's correct.
Yes, MUSC has a whole parking
Yeah, I know that.
program and management
Yeah.
division.
Unfortunately.
Thank
Yeah. I think that the acquisition, the changing of the right of way, whatever it was, I think that's our hardship. And
I would agree with that. And it's too big. Well, I mean, technically the tree could be moved, but this is a nonprofit as such. So I think it's unreasonable to ask that. Yes. I make a motion to move to approve the staff recommendations.
Second.
all right, so the motion's for approval with staff conditions by Amanda, seconded by
Paula.
Paula. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? That motion's approved 4-0 as well. Thank you. Okay, we'll go to item B4, which is 2205 Daniel Island Drive, the TMS 275-1102-001. Zone DIR and request a variance from section 54-327 to allow the removal of one grand tree.
So trip out the Daniel Island application. I believe we have a representative here. The owner is, I believe, out of the country. This lot and the approval for this house goes back to 2005. You'll see those documents in just a second. It's next to a green space. 2205 Daniel Allen Drive. Just note the kind of open backyard that abuts the open space and a right-hand panel of lawn space right of the front walk. Just keep that in your back of your head, so I'll reference that in a minute. So through the tree inspection request form, staff received that request. I get assigned 29492 zip code, so I handle Daniel Allen. So approached this tree and measured it 3 times, 24.1. This tree was planted. It was not worked around. So almost nearly 18, 19 years. The issue is, this is a photo provided by the applicant. You can see the whole driveway is heaved and cracked in front of the garage doors. Here's the plat of the property that the owner provided. Here are the ARB approvals, July 2005, July 9, maybe 2005. At one point it was tire runners, and then I guess they came back for a reapproval to do larger, more concrete. And obviously the tree was planted. I can't recall what Daniel Allen requires. You know, they require specific landscape, and I can't remember if it's a minimum 3-inch tree or they start with 2.5. I think typically they're larger trees for bigger bang for the buck out of the gate there. But anyway, this tree, along with irrigation, really grew fast, and RE Fund got involved, a local architect or arborist, and you know, I was really pushing that let's do some selective root pruning and maybe some shaving of some select roots and re-pour the concrete. But then he was like, I don't know, Eric, I just don't have a good feeling about this. So I said, well, have them air spade the entire root system, and you can see the extent of the roots that went under the drive. It's quite amazing. Toward the garage, toward the house, and to have water drain away from the garage and to get another, I suggested maybe we cheat and do a reinforced concrete, do 3.5-inch, you know, typically it's 4-inch, but even then the roots are just so incredibly all over the place. So a little small crack in that pier right here. I don't know if it's due to a specific root or what have you, but so in the interim, they had bought the house, they were doing renovations. In the interim, they said, we got to do something. I said, you know, I can't do a staff level approval. So they laid down some ROC in there just to keep it from washing out, what have you. And again, it's just a massive amount of roots in that zone to reform up and pour concrete drive. I asked that they spray paint them. That didn't quite work, but you can get an idea. You see the amount that headed that way. So this is a recent picture where they just had to put some ROC down to make it livable for guests, I guess, during the holidays, what have you. So contemplating that, knowing that the tree was planted, I'm going ahead and recommend approval to plant 2 2.5-inch caliber trees, one in the front yard, one in the back, be planted by March 1 during this growing season, planting season, and then make a contribution to the city street tree program in the amount of $590.
All right, thank you, Eric. Is the applicant present? Or
He's
representative?
He's with us.
Okay.
Okay. I think you laid it out pretty quick. The tree roots are pretty massive. They had actually,
State your name.
Your name and
I'm Forrest Bond. I live at 212 Birch Lane in Somerville.
All right.
The tree roots had pushed the driveway up so much that water was literally shedding back towards the garage. We were worried that it was actually going to start flooding it. We had the arborists come out to look at pruning the roots and shaving them down. Due to their proximity to the trunk, if too much was cut back, it would kill the tree. That's what I was told by Peter. We like his recommendations of being able to remove it and plant other trees on the property. The tree was, I guess, planted when the house was built back in 2001.
Okay.
Let me know if you have any other questions.
All right, thank you. Anybody else present that's in favor? Anybody present that's opposed? Closed application to the public. It's open to the board for questions or discussion.
Those seem really super surface roots for a live oak. I
I was super
weird.
surprised when they used air spade and exposed everything. When
What's
I
the,
was first there, you couldn't tell the extent. You know, I could see some roots leaving the mulch interface, but wow, again, the irrigation and how soon that concrete got pushed up and then cracked and then water pooled. I have no idea, but really amazing.
what's the soil like in that section?
I couldn't tell you. I really couldn't tell you. They, you know, when they,
I mean, I don't know, it just seems a little
when they
weird.
built the pond, you know, there was probably very little. This section of
Bad soil.
Daniel Island Drive actually was cornfield. When you left where, you know, you make the right to Bishop England, you pretty much went into row crop.
Yep.
But with the construction of the pond and tossing soil every which way, who knows whether clay level or clay
Mhm.
layer got in there, but yeah, I was shocked.
That's what it looks like.
I was shocked.
Just states.
Just stays, yeah.
Does anyone know if the applicant has spoken with the neighbor next door?
I don't know that.
The house directly to the left of it just had a new resident move in. It was for sale. Peter hasn't been in town since they moved in. They just moved in maybe 30 days.
I don't see any way to save the tree.
Well, and did Daniel Island weigh in on this?
They'll have to go through the ARB.
So after we do it, and then it goes through their area. It looks really thin on the crown too.
Sure does.
And you said 2 native trees, right?
2 native trees, one in the backyard, which is open, one on the right of the front walk, I think, has a nice little lawn panel.
Move to approve with staff recommendations.
Okay, is there a second?
I'll second.
Motion for approval by Ruthie, second by Amanda. All in favor of that motion, say aye in favor.
My favorite.
Aye in favor. Any opposed?
I'm gonna abstain.
All right. 3 and 1 abstention. So it's approved. Thank you for that. All right, thank you. So that will lead us to the last item on the agenda. Item B5, which is 615 Barbados Drive, Beresford Hall, the TMS 27104011026, zone PUD. Request a variance from section 54-327 to allow the removal of 1 grand tree. Eric?
Amanda and Joel and Paula, you may remember this from 2017. So they received approval for the same tree back then. However, there was ownership changes and then they didn't reapply to extend the approval. So we're back with a new owner. This is the application. Phil Clark Design is the architect. It's a lot that fronts on the Beresford Creek off of Barbados. Dock is in place. There is some topography. It drops. Trees. See the vacant lot between existing homes. So multiple grand trees on the property. Live oak, red oak, primarily live oak. One is an F grade, top is blown out. The tree in question is kind of centrally located. And that's where they're nestling a building pad in with the driveway and the car park area, if you will, meandering between trees, so very similar to the previously approved. So you see, this is a close-up of the 27-inch live oak, previously approved F29. This is a zoom in of the house. We do have encroachments. We approved and worked with the consulting arborist last time in 2017. So I'm prepared to work again with the encroachments. So you can see today they have a little meandering path that they go to get to their dock. This is right on the edge. One is looking, I guess, due east toward the water. Second middle one is looking back toward the west. Then, of course, another shot of the live oak. So here are the plans more in detail. Tree protection barricade plan, silk fence, nature curtain protection. Grading plan. Landscape plan. So this was the 10/4/17 approval, same tree. Del Pastel, Jeff Webb at the time. Mr. P.O. Mead's letter on the specific tree in question, 27-inch live oak. Some branch breakouts, some branch failures, unbalanced crown. City photo. And then the other two live oaks that are east of the house, down closer to the marsh. The two front trees in the car park area, the F grade with no top, and then a very large live oak on the south side of the driveway. So staff is going to remain in support of the removal of the 27-inch live oak with the condition to plant 27 caliber inches of native canopy trees on the project site in the form of 5 2.5-inch caliber trees, and a contribution to the city street tree program in the amount of $1,475. Must use 4-foot chain link fence as tree protection barricades, and it's to be installed by the project arborist. Must have the project arborist treat, prune, and supervise any activity to be done in the tree protection zones of the grand trees to remain on site. Must remove the large proposed potted plant material as shown on the landscape plan within the tree protection zones of the grand trees. I just don't like that idea. And they can do ground cover small, but a gallon, 2-gallon size plants, they're, I think, disrupting. And then must provide a landscape plan for review and approval.
Well, thank you, Eric. Applicant is present.
Hey, Phil Clark, Park Design Group, 1100 Palm. We've been working on this design for about 2 years, and here with the owner, Duffy Conley. When we first looked at this, we did have the paperwork from the previous removal, and we actually reached out to Eric along with PO at that time as soon as we started, and reevaluated all the trees and determined that that tree that was originally allowed to be removed worked out the best. We were able to fit the house in amongst all the other trees, and it seems to work out really well. And so just wanted to follow the same thing. We have a grading plan. All the conditions, as Eric mentioned, are fine, and we will certainly follow those. So thank you.
Excellent, thank you. And anybody else present that's in favor would like to be heard? Anybody opposed? Close the application to the public. So
Who is Nest?
That's
Nest Landscape
That's the
Architects?
landscape architect. Her name's
Okay.
Kelly Kane. She used to work with Remark, and she's out on her own for about the
What
past
was the
3 years.
name?
Kelly Kane.
Okay.
Yeah, nice lady. Yeah.
I remember the
I do too.
conversations before about the number of trees are being saved on the front end. House being nestled back. So
And the critical line setback takes a
Yeah.
good chunk out of that backyard, but it leaves a nice growth back there.
this one was pretty cut and dry.
Definitely no precedent.
If there's, if there are any other questions, does anybody have a motion?
Well, typically, if something's pre-approved, we tend to hold up the motion. So I guess what happened last time is somebody else was gonna buy the lot, they came in with their design, we approved the removals. Then that changed, somebody along the way built the dock while waiting to build or do whatever, and now they're back with house design.
That's correct. And
Better houses.
whatever the transactions, nobody requested an extension. You know, typically we ask that that approval from 2017 has to be matched with an extension. But they went out and reevaluated trees, similar size house nestled in the same location. So basically a new plan.
I'll make a motion for approval with staff recommendations.
There's a second on that?
I'll second.
All right, so motion for approval by Paula, seconded by Amanda, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
In favor, any opposed? Approved 4-0. Thank you. Y'all have a good evening.
All right, so that concludes today, December 4th, Board of Zoning
Thank you.
Appeals Site Design Meeting.
Are we up to date on our minutes?
Finally.
Finally, yes.
It only took us a year.
But you know what's weird is I can swear we all been here at other meetings.
Yeah.